Hi, this is Sanjay Gangal from EDA Cafe. I'm here with Carlos Pardo, CEO of KDPOF. Hello, Carlos.
Hi, Sanjay. Nice to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Carlos, tell us about KDPOF.
Well, KDPOF, we are a small company located in Europe, in Spain. We are a semiconductor company, a fabless semiconductor company, and we are supplying semiconductors for the automotive industry. We are already in production, and we have cars in the street with our technology, which is really an amazing experience for a small company like us.
Okay, and when did you start the company?
The company was started in 2010.
Hmm.
We were able to have our first semiconductor, our first chips available in 2014. And the first compromise coming from a car manufacturer was in 2017. And now we are in production with a lot of car manufacturers willing to use our technology and growing. So it's a good experience now.
And how many people do you have?
Right now we are around 35 people, not that many.
Okay, 55 is a good number. That means you are growing. And you are self-funded or funding through revenue or got investors?
We have investors. We had three Spanish venture capital, as well as private investors, and right now we are very close to break even, very close, because we are now launching and in the ramp up of the production. So it's a very good situation, and also the amount of customers in the pipeline is growing every day. So it's very good.
Oh, that's wonderful. So tell us about your products. What exactly do you guys do?
We are leading worldwide the use of optical communications inside of the automotive industry, inside of the car. When we launched our first product, we reused all the existing infrastructure coming from the most standard, was an optical communication system in the car. We redesigned completely the electronics. We make it very robust. We increase the temperature range. We provide much more speed. We do a full standard. It's a completely IEEE standard. And we are now selling all the optoelectronics required for these communications in over plastic fibers in the automotive industry. We are providing right now speeds of 101 gigabit per second communications in Ethernet, and we have in the roadmap products for 2.5, 5, 10, 25, and even 50 gigabit per second for optical communications in the automotive industry.
And are you providing full chips or boards or the IP, the semiconductor IP for these parts?
We provide the chips. Yes, this is our main business. We are open to provide the IP where further integration is required, but in reality, our approach is to fully integrate everything in the connector, in the optical transceiver. All the required electronics are there, so there is no need to sell the IP. Part of the knowledge of KDPOF is not only the semiconductor itself, but also all the ecosystem, all the optics, all the testing of the system. And so we are not a small company selling IP. We have an objective of provide silicon, and that's what is happening right now.
And are all your chips IEEE 26262 compliant?
The good thing is that yes, we are, but it's not that difficult because we are a physical layer, and the physical layer doesn't need to fulfill the full 26262 standard. It's a basic compliance. So yes, on that sense, yes, we are compliant with that.
Okay, and what makes your products unique and differentiated?
So when we started, most of the industry was betting on the copper as the simplest way to achieve high speeds. At that time, we realized that the optical will provide a very good solution, and what we are differentiating from the rest is that, of course, we are providing optical and we are leaders worldwide on that. But also we are redesigning the optical in a sense that traditionally everybody sees the optical connectivity as a very expensive and very fragile connectivity. What KDPOF is doing is making a very low cost and robust connectivity affordable for the automotive industry. We have achieved a point where optical is even cheaper than the copper solution. And that's what's really different. What KDPOF is doing is really making a revolution on the optical communications, where not any longer is more expensive and not any longer is fragile. We are even more robust than a copper communication system.
Wow. And so what are the key challenges for connectivity in electric vehicles?
Well, it's a good question because today, when you start designing an electrical car, you think that everything should be simpler because you are getting rid of the combustion engine. But in reality, you are going into big problems with all the very high currents and very high voltages existing in the electrical cars. You have to think that the batteries are supplying 800 volts, 600 volts. The engines requires hundreds of amps, and all this is making the design of a car complex because you need to interconnect several parts of the car with very different voltages, with a lot of noise produced by these big currents. This noise are essentially impulsive noise spread everywhere. And this is where the optical provides an added value because it simplifies a lot all the connectivity. Connecting 800 volts electronics with 12 volts electronics using copper requires optocouplers, requires complex medias. When you use optical, it's simple. You just connect two ECUs by an optical connectivity. It provides modularity, also safety. You are completely separating the high voltage. You can put a different box, different ECU for the high voltage, and then low voltage can be separated. So there is no way, if you have a crash, for example, and you have the high voltage and the low voltage in the same box, there is a probability of connecting the 800 volts to the 12 volts. And this for sure will kill the full car. And not only that, it may kill people. And for safety reasons, and also for modularity, the use of optical, providing galvanic isolation and removing all the noise existing in these electrical cars, is really optimum solution.
And what are the cost issues associated with providing solutions for these electric vehicles?
Yeah, as I said before, optical has been seen traditionally as a very expensive media. And that was true. What we have done is we have changed completely the supply chain. We have simplified to the minimum the supply chain, and today all the optoelectronics required for an optical communication is being provided directly to the tier one. The tier ones will place that in the ECU, and the connector is being assembled with the optoelectronics also in the tier one. On the past, that was done before, which implies margin stacking, extra assembly steps, extra testing. Today, with the KDPOF approach, we can simplify to the minimum the connectivity, the assembly. And the good point is that we have reached the levels of price where we are competitive and even cheaper than the copper solution. If we look into the higher speeds, today production are 100 megabit and 1 gigabit, but when we look to beyond 10 gigabit or 25 gigabit, the pricing of the optical will be much cheaper than the copper. Copper will need to require to use larger cables, thicker cables, more complex, where the fiber is going to be the same for all the speeds, and for sure will be much cheaper than the copper solution. So that's what KDPOF is changing. We are changing the paradigm of the optical communications.
And now a lot more cars are going autonomous. And what are some of the challenges in the autonomous driving world?
That's a good question. We have seen that on the 90s we have cars with CAN buses, which was using 1 megabit per second communication. Now we are jumping into the Ethernet world with 10 megabit, 100 megabit. But when people talk about the future, and the future is now, you see all these autonomous cars where they are moving a lot of data coming from the sensors like cameras or LiDAR, and they are being processed by different processors in parallel. It's being stored in a black box. All this is moving a huge amount of information, and now people are looking for 10 gigabit per second buses, 25 gigabit per second buses, or even 50 or 100 gigabit per second buses. We foresee a need of very high speeds in the backbones and in the cameras, and the best way to really implement that in the car without any EMC problem, galvanic isolation problems, and also in the cheapest way is the optical solution.
Okay. Yeah, and what should people expect from KDPOF in the coming year?
Right now, we already have these products in production, and we are leading the standardization and the ecosystem of the development of this optical solution for the high speeds. And what we have received is that people are expecting that KDPOF provides the solution. Even if we are a small company, right now we are the reference on the world for the optical communications, and everybody is saying, okay, who should be the connector provider? Who should be the fiber connector, the fiber supplier? Who should be the test house? And KDPOF is really creating the ecosystem around us. And this is what people are expecting from us, is that we keep doing that.
Okay. So Carlos, let me switch gears and talk to you about a few other things. So one is, you started this company in 2010, right?
Yes, with my colleague Ruben. Yes, we co-found the company.
And what was the motivation behind starting the company?
So it was a bad moment because our previous company was going bankrupt, and my colleague Ruben had an idea. He identified that the optical world it was going to the very high speeds, but the lower speeds was still a space for doing another turn and another redesign, and we foresee or we saw that we can make something different and attractive. And from the very beginning, we saw that the automotive industry was the best place to put our ideas in place. And yeah, we jump and we started. And it has been a fantastic trip with a lot of experience as entrepreneurs. I think it's really one of the best things I have done in my life, apart from my family for sure. Mm-hmm. So it's very nice experience with a lot of good stories. We always suffer because you need to suffer for being an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. But now I think with these cars in production and all the new customers coming, I think it's worth the effort. Yes.
Okay. So what were some of the major challenges that you had to overcome to get the company going?
We had a time where everybody was betting on the copper. Yeah, the copper is the best option. And we were the only one on the world saying, no, optical still, there is a place, there is space, and it will be the winner, in fact. And nobody believes on us. I remember having presentations where people were saying, oh, come on, impossible. And now more and more OEMs are calling us because they are having huge problems with the copper solution. And they want to reevaluate the optical again. And they look to the future saying, okay, when I need 10 gigabit or 25 gigabit, copper is not going to be an option for sure. So Yeah, I think it was very hard going against the rest of the world. That time was difficult. Yeah.
Okay. And Carlos, can you also tell us something about yourself uh, that most people at KPDPOF don't know about you?
Well, I mean, when you become an entrepreneur and you have a clear view and you want to launch a new company, that defines yourself a lot. I think
Mhm.
that is probably something that makes me different. Before creating a company by myself, I was an employee in a big company and life was easy. When you decide to jump and to create your own company, that's the best definition of yourself in some way. Apart from that, I love mountains. I love to ski. I love my family. I have good friends. I'm a normal guy.
Yeah. So looks like you touched upon some of these things, but what do you do for fun outside work, or when you, what is your personal passion outside work?
The mountain. I love
Mountain.
mountains. I go to the mountain in summer and I go for skiing in winter. Yes, it's what helps me a lot when I'm afraid of all these problems of the company. When I go to the mountain, I do exercise. Everything disappears. It's fantastic.
And what is your favorite mountain?
Well, here in Spain, we have a lot of mountains, which is good. But the best way in Spain is the Pyrenees. When you go to
Mm.
the Pyrenees, there is a lot of lovely places there. Yeah.
That's great. Finally, what is the best way for people to find out more about KDPUF on the internet?
Well, you can go to our webpage, which is kdpof.com, and you will see all our products available. And there are links to contact the salespeople.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Carlos, for taking time to record this interview. Have a great day and stay safe.
Bye bye. Thank you very much for the time.
This is Sanjay Gangal from EDA Cafe.